Were they the first Europeans? On the 6th of August 1950, 300 students stormed the Franco-German border at St. Germanshof. I wanted Europe. Christel and Matthias Heister were there that day. The storming of the border had been planned in secret for some time. That was the whole surprise, coordinating everything so that it still remained a secret. It was an initiative that attracted worldwide attention, a manifesto for Europe. This is the true cradle of the European Union. Back then, Christel and Matthias Heister and many others were role models for the European idea. The storming of the border was planned and rehearsed in Bavaria and Alsace. Today, when the Heisters stand at the former German customs house in St. Germanshof on the exact spot where the barrier was once located, old memories quickly come flooding back. How they started to storm the border, led by French professor Marcel Mille. Only a few minutes previously, the students from 9 nations had no idea that the campaign was to take place here in the southwest Palatinate between Bobenthal and Wissembourg. The location was kept a secret, and how we would get there was also a secret. Another special aspect was that there were to be as many reporters as possible at the scene, and those reporters had been gathered together in Heidelberg by Mr. Mille. And then we converged from 3 sides. The reporters from Heidelberg, us in 3 coaches disguised as sports clubs, crossing the Rhine at different points, including here in this area. We had no idea where we were headed, and only up here in one of the villages did Mille tell us it was to be here at this border. Several groups approached the border from the German and the French side. That all had to be coordinated, and in those days we were without technical aids such as mobile phones. The European activists were all supposed to arrive here at the same time, if possible. It was initially very exciting, but the excitement had died down because we had to wait in the coach for a long time until we finally arrived here. What was in store for us? Who were we going to meet there? Those were major questions. The French had problems. They had to travel through Wissembourg and couldn't avoid the town and find another way of getting here. But they used a trick. They sent 3 female students on ahead. One fainted and the other called the customs officers outside to help. While they kept the customs officers busy, the French dismantled the barrier. The barrier on the French side was relatively easy to remove. It was made of wood and could be sawn off. But on the German side, they had installed a new steel one several days earlier. But the activists went on tugging and pushing until it broke. They all had only one thing in mind: a united Europe without borders and a European citizenship. It was a nonviolent protest with no aggression. How could we have been aggressive? That was out of the question. No, we quickly came together as a group to announce what we had set out to achieve. We come from Europe. The mood had already been set. We were pleased when the French arrived. They might have been stopped somewhere en route. Over 7 decades later, this European monument commemorates the storming of the border at St. Germanshof. It was designed and built by Herbert Breiner. 12 steels represent the 12 stars of the European flag. They stand on precisely the same spot where the border fire once burned and where there was a living demonstration of European unification at the Franco-German border. For several hours, a united Europe was realized here, with representatives from 9 countries. And this is the cradle of Europe. The old customs house and the memorial on the St. Germanshof continue to attract visitors. Sometimes they're lucky, and Matthias Heister is on site and can explain to them the motives behind the storming of the border back then, with the same fascinating enthusiasm he has always exuded. We got involved because we wanted to send a clear signal that it was time to call a halt to all the stop-go policies in Europe. The real trigger of our campaign was this. After the war, Churchill had originally given a great speech in Zurich. And then he joined up with a Belgian. And together they held a first European Congress in The Hague. There, they resolved to go to Strasbourg to establish the European Assembly. And this European Assembly first sat in Strasbourg in 1950. And there it happened that the national delegates said, "It's no good having only a European Assembly. We need a committee of ministers as well." And then they decided that the Assembly could only pass decisions permitted by the Committee of Ministers. That was the reason for our protest. We wanted a federal Europe, not a Europe of nations. And sadly, this has been going wrong right up to the present day. In 1950, Matthias and Christel Heister were involved in a unique campaign that required great courage and that promoted Franco-German friendship. And it was one of the first steps towards a united Europe.